Welcome back. I've never been over here before.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Today, June 9th, would have been guitar legend and Wisconsin native Les Paul's 100th birthday.
He died in 2009, but lives on in the music and technology of music. Joining us is John Masino, a local guitarist and a friend of Les Paul's. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. We were just talking before we started about this idea that, you know, for people of a younger generation, don't necessarily know who Les Paul was. So for folks, I mean, born in Waukesha, I got those details, but what's the important things for people to know about who he was as a musician?
Well, first of all, he was the father of inventing the electric guitar, and this is a Les Paul. Les signed this one. And he actually came up with a lot of things like sound on sound and multi-track recording and things with guitar pickups. So he was an innovator. He made so many things that musicians today that we all use, and he invented most of it.
Yeah, it's very cool. What don't we know from the books and from the looking at a guitar? You have a special relationship that not everybody has.
Well, I was able to see him or hang out with him maybe it was 3 times, once out in New York at the Iridium Jazz Club where he performed. And he told me some of those stories about how he invented sound on sound. And he was, at his age, he was still inventing. And he was like a teenager. He was still thrilled about making music. And every week he would record himself in the show, just so he said so he could get better.
Wow.
So we talk now, I mean, you're mentioning an electric guitar. In the past, everybody was playing acoustically. Yeah. The sound was just such a dramatic change. I mean, for music, it really can't be understated, can it?
Well, he said that when he was playing with the band, that you couldn't hear the guitar, and he wanted to figure out some way to put a pickup on an acoustic guitar, and that's why he came up with this idea. He made a guitar that they originally named it the Log, and because it was like a railroad tie with pickups on it, and but it amplified the guitar so he could be heard with the band.
Yeah. So. You think he put Wisconsin on the map? I mean, the music scene here I know is pretty vibrant now, but that's pretty cool. Yeah,
he definitely did. And his, you can go to the Waukesha Museum and see a lot of his stuff there. And it's just amazing what he did with multi-track recording with Mary Ford. They had all sorts of hits, and so.
Yeah, amazing stuff.
Well, we're here to celebrate music, so we should probably let you play. When we come back, it's going to be the 3 things you need to know.
But let's let you play us out here. That's what we came for.
That sounds good.
John Masino, everybody.
Okay.
We have been celebrating the life of Les Paul, who died in 2009, the music icon that is a Wisconsin native.
So today would have been his 100th birthday. Pretty impressive. So to celebrate that, we have John Masino. Thanks again for coming in early this morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
So much of music is in the stories that are passed down. And you were telling us in the last half hour about kind of some of the stories he shared with you about creating the electric guitar and all of that. If you can, kind of share some of the legendary stories you heard.
Well, he had a real funny story that he told me about him and Mary Ford being at home, and he had gotten the first tape recorder from Bing Crosby. He dropped off a recorder, and he was working with the recorder, and he told Mary that he broke the recording head on the recorder and that he wanted to go to the Ampex company and get another recording head. And he wrote something on a napkin. She said, "Why do you think that's going to work?" And he said, "Because I wrote it down. It's going to work." So they went to Chicago. I guess they got another recording head. He found someone with a drill, and they mounted it on the recorder and that's how he invented a thing called sound on sound. Wow. And it worked. He thought it up, and it just worked.
Amazing. So, he was obviously an incredible innovator. What about a teacher?
Yeah, well, I'm not so, sure how much.
How did you know? How did you know him? What did you know him as? I mean, obviously a buddy.
Well, I was just a huge fan. I mean, he was like the Wizard of Waukesha is what they called him, and what he did with multi-track recording. And he made a sound that no one else had ever made before with Mary Ford when they had all of their #1 hits. And he was able to create something through the way he recorded that no one else had ever done.
Yeah.
So
the idea everybody played on the acoustic guitar before, and you were telling us last half hour no one could hear him, and that's why he creates the electric guitar. We've got about a half minute left. I wanted to give you an opportunity to kind of share that sound that was created by a Wisconsin native.
All right, I'll turn this back on quick.
Mornings, all morning, we've been celebrating the life of Les Paul. The Waukesha native would have been 100 today.
100 years old. We've been speaking with and hearing some great guitar work from John Masino all morning long. Now we're joined by Roy Elkins, who's the owner of Broad Jam. And you actually had a good relationship, a long-standing relationship with Les Paul.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about this legend of music?
Yeah. Well, I met Les in the late 80s, early 90s. My company, my first company I worked for was a synthesizer company, and I got a call from one of the guys that worked with us and said that Les Paul's on the phone and he'd like to try out one of our instruments. And I basically said, well, tell him I'm talking to God right now, and I'll call Les back in a second, because I just didn't believe it. But anyway, I had a chance to take some of our instruments up to meet Les. And as I got there, I'm thinking, I really want to ask this guy a lot of questions. I mean, anybody in the music industry, Les Paul is the hero to all of us. But what I found with Les is how inquisitive he was. He had a list of questions about our products that just, I never got to ask him anything, because he just kept asking and asking questions. But the most amazing thing about Les is that he made you feel like you were the most important person in the world when you were with him, as John knows. Yeah. He was so engaging, and he brought you into his world. He was humble, and he was just one of the most decent people you'll ever meet.
That's the best, isn't it? When such a legend is just so great.
Yeah. Well, of course,
not even.
And right here's a Madison right there.
Yeah. So we have been talking all morning long, though, for younger generations, Roy, who don't necessarily understand, and we were speaking even before the break about this idea of the new sound in music. Les Paul literally created a new sound with an electric guitar.
Oh, absolutely. Not only electric guitar, but reverbs, echoes, the recording process, sound on sound. In fact, in one of his studios in Mahwah, New Jersey, I got to see one of his first experiments with echoes in reverbs, and he had this big piece of aluminum, a little thicker than aluminum foil, and he would move it back and forth, and the singer would stand there, and he would move the foil back and forth to get a different reflection of the singer's sound, long before digital reverb. And he was experimenting with this stuff in the analog world long before it became electronic.
Amazing stuff. You said there's a good story about a broken arm that people should know about?
This is probably a story that changed music history, but he and Mary Ford were coming back from California, and their car veered off the road in a snowstorm, and it rolled on his arm and broke his arm. And the doctor called him and told him that you can have your arm in one position, it's going to be straight down for the rest of your life. And the inventor he called the doctor back and he said, one position, right? And he said, yeah, Ken, he said, well, I got an idea for you. And he walked in the doctor's office with a guitar around his neck, and he says, can you put my hand like this? And if you see any pictures of Les Paul after that point, with or without a guitar, his arm is in this position.
His right arm.
His right arm, so he could pick a guitar the rest of his life.
Had to do it.
That's pretty impressive.
I can't imagine if it would have been like this, what music history would have been.
One surgery, one cast.
Yeah, one great doctor, too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Roy Elkins, John Masino, we thank you both for being here this morning. You got a couple more tunes you can play for us as we celebrate the 100th birthday. Les Paul died in 2009, we should mention. There's going to be celebrations going on all over the country.
All over the country, yeah.
There's a big party in New York tonight at the Iridium.
Yeah, yeah.
Hop on our flight. We ought to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And meanwhile, let's listen to John play us out, if that's all right.
Let's
on
do
the
it.
Les Paul guitar.
Yeah.
Yes.